He learned very early that the truth didn't protect poor people. It exposed them. That if you wore torn shoes, the world looked down. If your clothes smelled like last night's rain, people listened less. And if you came from nothing, you were treated like you deserved nothing. So one day, out of fear, not greed, a poor boy told a lie. A small lie. A dangerous lie. My father is a billionaire. He thought it would end the conversation. Instead, it changed his life forever. His name was Evan Carter. Evan was 14 years old, thin for his age, with eyes that always looked older than they should have. Evan Carter learned the weight of poverty before he understood numbers. He felt it in the sound of overdue bills slipping under the door. In the way his mother sighed before opening the fridge. In the silence that followed when she said, "We'll manage." They lived in a small apartment on the south side of Chicago. One bedroom, cracked walls, a heater that worked only when it wanted to. Evan slept on a couch that dipped in the middle, his schoolbooks stacked neatly beside him like quiet promises. His mother, Rachel Carter, worked harder than anyone he knew. She cleaned offices before sunrise and cared for elderly patients at night. Her hands were always dry, always tired, but her voice never complained. "Education is your way out," she told him often. "Not money, not luck. Education." Evan believed her. He had to. At school he kept his head down. He listened. He observed. He noticed how teachers smiled more easily at certain students. How confidence often came packaged with money. How kids with rich parents were forgiven faster, trusted sooner, praised louder. And he understood something no one taught him. Poverty doesn't just empty your pockets. It shrinks your presence. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Hawthorne Academy, scholarship interview. Evan read it 3 times. His hands trembled. This was the kind of school people whispered about, elite, powerful, connected. The kind of place that didn't just educate you, it introduced you to a different world. Rachel hugged him tightly when she saw the letter. "I'm proud of you," she said. "No matter what happens." The interview room was nothing like Evan's school. Polished floors. Leather chairs. Framed photos of donors lining the walls. Last names Evan recognized from news articles and skyscrapers downtown. 3 adults sat across from him. They asked about grades. Evan answered clearly. They asked about goals. Evan spoke honestly. They asked about discipline. Evan didn't exaggerate. Then came the question that froze him. "What does your father do for a living?" Time slowed. The room waited, measuring, judging. Evan thought of saying the truth. The empty chair at home. The man who disappeared when bills became heavier than promises. Before fear could stop him, the lie escaped. "My father is a billionaire." The words hung in the air. Something shifted. Eyebrows lifted. Pens paused. The principal leaned forward slightly. "Which industry?" she asked calmly. "Technology," Evan replied. He didn't plan it. He didn't rehearse it. But the lie fit too well. And for the first time in his life, people looked at him like he mattered. Evan was accepted. Not fully funded, but enough to make it possible. Rachel cried when she saw the letter. Not from relief. From pride. "You did this," she said. "You earned this." Evan nodded, guilt twisting quietly in his chest. At Hawthorne Academy, Evan entered a world he had only seen on television. Students arrived in luxury cars. Parents spoke in polished voices. Teachers expected excellence, no excuses. Evan worked harder than anyone. He woke before dawn. Stayed late. Read ahead. Asked careful questions. The lie followed him everywhere. It protected him, but it also watched him. Classmates were curious, not cruel. "What does your dad do exactly? Is he really that rich?" Evan smiled politely. "He travels a lot." At night, he stared at the ceiling, replaying conversations, correcting details, tightening the story. The lie wasn't making him arrogant. It was making him disciplined. Because if he was going to pretend to belong, he would earn it. The closer Evan came to success, the heavier the lie became. Once, during a school fundraiser, a wealthy parent laughed and said, "I might know your father. What's his name?" Evan's chest tightened. "He prefers privacy," Evan replied carefully. "It's complicated." The man nodded, uninterested. Evan excused himself and locked himself in a bathroom stall, breathing through panic. At home, Rachel noticed changes. Evan was quieter, more focused, tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. "You okay?" she asked one night. "Just school," Evan said. He wanted to tell her everything. But he didn't. Because he was afraid the truth would take everything away. Miles away, in a glass office overlooking the city, Thomas Whitmore reviewed reports. He was a billionaire. Self-made. Not inherited. He had grown up poor. Lied once or twice himself just to get into rooms he wasn't invited to. At a charity event, someone laughed and said, "Apparently you've got a son at Hawthorne Academy." Thomas smiled faintly. "I don't have children," he said. But the comment stayed with him. Curiosity replaced dismissal. He asked questions. Quiet ones. What he found surprised him. The boy wasn't reckless. Wasn't spending money. Wasn't name-dropping. He was exceptional. Thomas decided not to expose him. He decided to watch. The call came on a Thursday. Evan was asked to step out of class. A black car waited outside the gates. No explanation. The city blurred past as fear grew heavier. They stopped at a private office downtown. Glass walls. Silence. Power. Thomas Whitmore stood when Evan entered. "Sit," he said gently. Evan knew instantly. The lie was over. He didn't deny it. He confessed everything, the poverty, the fear, the moment that changed his life. Tears fell. "I didn't want money," Evan said. "I just wanted to matter." Thomas listened. Then he spoke. "I grew up poor too." Evan looked up. "I lied once," Thomas continued. "Not about who my father was, but about who I could become." Thomas didn't punish Evan. He didn't expose him. He didn't humiliate him. Instead he said, "I won't make you my son. But I won't destroy you either." He offered mentorship, education, guidance. Opportunity is not inheritance, it's preparation. Evan nodded, overwhelmed. Years passed. The lie disappeared quietly. Evan succeeded on his own merit. He studied relentlessly, built projects, failed, tried again. Rachel watched her son grow into a man she barely recognized, confident, calm, grounded. One evening, Evan told her everything. She cried, then hugged him. "You survived," she said. "That's what matters." Years later, Evan stood on a stage. Not as a billionaire's son, but as himself. He looked into the crowd and saw his mother, proud, whole. The lie opened the door. But character kept it open. If you feel invisible, if you think the world listens only to power, have you ever lied to obtain mercy or favor? Share your experience in the comment box below. Like this video if this story moved you, and subscribe to Arib's Billion Stories for more powerful stories like this.